I have here a plan from a new client in Perth, WA, and they're looking to optimise particularly their kitchen, living, dining in their existing bungalow. They want to add an upper level potentially, and they want some recommendations on a pool location and an alfresco location in the back area. They don't want to change the front rooms too much because the existing rooms of the bungalow at the front are quite charming. So yeah, we want to crack this plan and I thought we might do it together. I'm Georgina Wilson and this is Peter Smith.
Hi.
And we're going to crack this plan together. So here we have the client's home. It's basically a bungalow in Perth, Western Australia. And here's just an analysis of the site. So we're seeing the direction of north. North is up the page there directly. We can see a little bit of the context of the other houses. The site has a kind of irregular shape. You can sort of see it here. So that's a little bit interesting. And it also shares a driveway with its next door neighbour. So I'll just go to the next drawing here. So we've got it now reoriented on the site with north to that direction. I guess one interesting thing is that driveway up the side. So at present it's a shared driveway between the neighbour and the client. Goes along here and the car is sort of parked in there, which maybe I think is possibly a little bit of a challenge. So I might just go through first and just say a few of my gut responses in terms of the challenges that I think we're facing in the existing plan. I suppose, do you think there's a bit of a train carriage effect going on here?
I do.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing is there is probably a bit of train carriage effect going on here. So that's where the building's designed such that you're forced to move through one room into another room to get to another room, 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 to get to the outside. And there is no really well-defined circulation path. And the problem with that is that if you imagine that this is your thoroughfare through the building in the yellow here, all of this yellow zone ends up becoming a broad and sort of meandering thoroughfare, which is quite inefficient, as you can see, and takes up quite a lot of the floor space. And so then it sort of becomes a problem when you try to then utilise and furnish the areas, maybe in your back open plan area, for example, and you find that you can't because the thoroughfare is crashing through everything. So I think that would be one issue that I see. The other sort of unfortunate thing I see going on here is that with north up the page, as we've already discussed, there's very little opportunity for this living space at the back of the house to benefit from that natural light. There's only one small opening just here, a small window, and so the main direction of the living space at the back is to face sideways. So there's doors through here. So the main flow is really to flow out there onto a car park. Yeah. So that's obviously not going to create a really lovely environment for living and enjoying the indoors and outdoors as we like to do in Australia. So I think that's a bit of a problem. Also, obviously, just finding a place to put the cars, that's not going to completely ruin any opportunity to create really good living and dining sort of spaces. Do you have any other complaints? I've got a few issues with the layout of the master suite, but I think that's probably small.
Resolving the car access is probably the key that will unlock everything.
Because at the moment, actually, the car is taking up prime position there onto the backyard and with beautiful northern access.
Almost half of the best aspect.
Yep. Yeah. So normally you'd expect to see the best, like the living room or something in that spot to take advantage of that aspect and access to the outside garden. So yeah, I guess let's get into the solution. Okay, so the client wanted us to keep the rooms at the front, so that's what we'll do. It's a pretty cute old building with original features in the front part of the cottage. So I think that looks pretty cute up the front. So shall we just create, how many bedrooms are we after?
I think we want 4, ideally.
Okay.
Parents,
all right.
2 daughters and the occasional guest.
Okay. So 4 sort of smallish format rooms at the front.
But one, they were interested in going up a level.
Yeah.
And they requested the guest room to be on that level.
Okay, so then one of the rooms downstairs could be utilised as a sort of library or secondary living space. I guess you'd probably select this one for use as the secondary living space if you could, do you think?
Yeah.
And maybe put some, you could introduce some glass doors potentially onto that room to just share some of the light into the entry foyer maybe. Maybe do we keep that one and just do some nice sofas in there with the existing fireplace somewhere in this location. You could have a window seat if you wanted. So some sort of lounge or library or study in the front. Then in the purple we've got we've got some bedrooms and they're all of a good size. We'll work on the master in a second, but
I think most likely probably the master should go upstairs.
Yeah, that would be a good strategy. And so then these ones downstairs can be a little more flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just, for the moment, place these. They might also be staging their renovations, so maybe for a time they'll use one of them as a master, but we'll go into that detail a bit later. Let's just keep going for the moment. So then it looks like you've got a good opportunity for a utility zone in the middle here. Just bring it in a bit more maybe.
Yeah.
Not sure if that would have a ensuite and so on, or if it would just be utilities for the rest of the house.
And then I guess we have to consider the
stair location.
Well, probably we have to look at the car situation.
Yeah. So
currently,
I guess
the car's space is utilising too much
area. Of the good area, and I think probably you'd want to get the car parking done as soon as possible to get on with the. So let's just, maybe what we try is we have the cars sort of in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So say we had a 6 metre car zone in the middle. 1, 2, 3. That would, like if we had 6 by 6, it'd be like that. Is that too much?
No, I think it would be worth dedicating more space sort of there to get the cars sorted, to free up. Like this has got way more space.
I'm just wondering though if you could actually move it forward even further.
Oh, is that?
That looks like it might be a addition. It's hard to tell.
Well,
let's just assume that the original house goes to the end of that utility.
Okay.
For now, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, because 6 metres is quite wide, but you could fit 2 cars in there, and then they could go back to go out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we see on the satellite plan? It's all the one roof form.
It's a bit hard to tell.
Let's assume let's maybe assume that's.
We'll just assume that for the moment, yeah. So let's try putting the cars there, say. Look, we could leave that. Shall we leave that wall there for argument's sake, for the time being?
Yeah.
Then we might want a utility zone, and maybe we put the kitchen in there.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where is there going to be? This zone might be good for
A room.
like a mud, to exit the garage.
Mm.
I guess, is there a mud room or?
Also, we need the stairs to the upstairs, so like maybe you'd have the stairs right here.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
make sense.
A bit long. Is that too? Maybe we'll fit a pantry or something behind it.
Yeah.
So the stairs could go up there. Then we could have some other kind of utility. Like you may be able to make more rooms in the front. Like I'm thinking that possibly what we would do, they may not be interested in this, you know, just because they don't want to do this much work, but potentially if they were wanting an extension, you could use this existing undercover area and square it off at the back there, and then put the kitchen sort of here, maybe.
Yeah.
And we could walk it back a bit if they don't want this much intervention, but something like that could be quite good.
Where would you put the living here and the dining there, or the?
Living or living,
I wonder if living would work well there and dining.
or vice versa. So, sorry, I'll draw it so you guys can see what we're talking about. We were just wondering, would it be nice to have living perhaps on this side? Maybe. We can try it. Let's see. And maybe dining on this side. There's a lot of space though.
Have some support
You can
joinery.
have some support joinery. Also, you don't have to go that full width.
That's true, yeah.
Maybe we could actually bring that back a bit. You wouldn't have to go that full width. It's just, it would be really nice to be able to embrace that northern aspect into those primary living spaces. So say this could be a really nice dining, lovely generous dining zone, lovely living zone. We could even move that kitchen back a bit more if that, actually that's probably what we'd do, isn't it? Sorry guys, I'll just move this back a bit. Let's see, how big do we actually want this to be? You probably want it to be really generous. Something like that. And then the kitchen could sit a bit further back. And then there's probably some room for a pantry as well.
You could use the space behind the stair.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost meeting up now. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I guess the garage, is that a bit weird that you're looking out onto the garage? I'd probably swap those two too.
But you probably would be nice maybe to have exit from the garage into a space like that. I think. So you could have that as kind of a mud room.
Sure. So we can exit out of the garage.
We could have the laundry in that zone as well.
Yeah, so we could have a laundry here, maybe. It's a bit narrow, isn't it? So maybe you come out into is that laundry or is that?
Well, you could sort of come out into an ante-room and then have the laundry.
And a bathroom? Or?
Just a big laundry.
And we can rejig the size of these two rooms probably. Something like that. And then just exit into the corridor. And I guess you can also have that as a secondary entry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have potential to make an ensuite and robe, if that's what was desired. Is that what you do?
We'll need
They're going to need a shared bathroom.
I mean, I guess it also affects things that we'll have the master upstairs. I mean, maybe this could just be a nice big shared bathroom.
Let's do that for now. I mean, we can go through this with our client and personalise it to their own requirements. But just maybe for the moment, if we say give it its own blue. Something like that. Yeah, lovely, generous bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the car situation kind of makes a nice courtyard, but you don't want to be staring at cars.
Yeah, how would you handle that?
I guess we would discuss with the clients the how much enclosure they'd need with the car, how many cars they've, in their current plan, they've showed just one car, whereas we've shown two.
Yeah.
I guess you could have it quite open with a operable roof, such that, and then
you could have it a bit flexibly.
Yeah, design the glazing with some screening.
Yeah.
So you can get light into all the rooms surrounding it from there.
Yeah, which could be quite nice, and you could have a lovely surface on the ground. So, yeah, I guess ideally you would have the ability to look through, but maybe not the whole thing. You know, maybe it is somewhat enclosed.
Or it's very controllable.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens with that. But the really nice thing that's starting to happen here is that along this northern facade now, it's all open. So they can have lovely sliding glass doors along the back that open out onto their reasonable sized garden. And they were also asking where we would suggest that they put a pool. So I was thinking, or we were wondering, maybe would it go just in the back corner here? Something like that. Which would be nice because that would then preserve like a really lovely garden, green space. So you'd be looking out directly onto that green space. I guess the other question is where would you put the alfresco? And I kind of, or here. So there's a couple of options. Usually we try and not to put the alfresco directly in the path of the sun, but I think, so this option is quite a nice one. You could have like an alfresco kind of cabana out here near the pool, offering some shade and so on. You could have some nice lounges and stuff there, maybe some table, chairs with some shade. You could have flexible shade, like a awning or something. The other option might be to have some sort of alfresco along here. Which could also be nice. So I think we can probably discuss that with our clients to see what might suit them better. I'm just imagining you could do a sort of banquette here and have a couple of lounges again in that location, which would be quite nice too because it would activate the garden, but so would this. So I think it's probably a personal choice. But I love the way the garden is starting to develop into a bit of an oasis, and you could develop the back landscaping, also at the sides, to really make it feel green and fresh and cool. I guess it might also be worth just thinking a little bit about this pocket at the front, just developing that. It already looks quite pretty, but just not to forget it, and it'd be nice to have some sort of public space in the front to help to activate and appreciate that front part of the site.
Have a look upstairs.
Yeah. I think also, just for the people listening, like what we always try and do, the pink represents public spaces, so your living spaces. The purple represents private spaces, so bedrooms, and the orange represents utility. So what I am looking for as I start to see this emerge is that the pink spaces are at the ends of the site, taking advantage of the outdoor space, and the utility and the private spaces are more condensed, I guess, towards the centre and consolidated. So you can sort of see that this is on the right track from that diagram. So we'll just go upstairs. I'll just add an extra layer to do that. So where we were envisaging the upper level would be, so if we have the staircase coming up, say here, something like that. Pete, were you imagining something like this, maybe?
Yeah, might not even need all
Might not
that.
need the whole space, so we can probably be a bit more conservative.
No, we're just interested in one room upstairs. So in that situation, we always suggest having the master bed up there, because it's usually got some more space.
Yeah, and room to create a really lovely master suite. I might just cut it in on the side a bit, just assuming that would be kind of a reasonable position to take. So you're a good 1.5 metres off the boundary. So do you imagine you'd have the master kind of in this zone, maybe?
Yeah.
I've done a mega bed again.
Nothing wrong with that.
Always do the mega bed. So then behind that, maybe there'd be a generous walk-in robe, maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that. Let's do a major one, hey? I mean, again, we'll talk with the clients about their wishes, because some people might like to have a mega robe. Other people might like to have a kind of a study or a lounge of some sort. Like a private shared lounge is often nice. And then over here we'll have the ensuite. Sorry, that's not looking very clear, is it?
Turn off the...
Maybe I'll turn off the level below. Is that clearer?
I think that's better, yeah.
Yeah, so we might have the ensuite in here. You'd have potential for windows all along that side. So say something like that. Is that too much?
Well,
It's
good
kind
start.
of, it's west, so you'd need external shading and stuff, but we can refine that. And then, should we just do a simple bathroom for now? Like a bath, a shower, a toilet, and a double vanity. So just kind of testing the concept for now. And then you could, if you wanted to, you could have glass doors again onto the walk-in robe. And then we always suggest a additional enclosure for the bedroom itself, and a rug. It's nice to get out of bed onto something soft.
Is that taking the full length?
It is, yeah. So maybe should I cut it back a bit? Or
No, I think that's...
I think
a
for
good
now it's probably
starting
quite
point.
good. They could have a Juliet balcony at the back there. And that might be the only window they really need. Like, they probably don't need that whole western side open.
Maybe that could be mostly storage.
In fact, that might be awesome storage. So let's take all that out and imagine instead that it's a solid, or pretty solid wall. You might have a few moments, like maybe at the top of the stair. You can have some glass there. And then maybe the rest of it is just some sort of support storage. You'd have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 linear metres of utility there, potentially.
Yeah. Not going to waste that on a guest bedroom.
Don't waste that on a guest bedroom, no. Have that for yourself when you're going to use it every day. So lots of tall utility potentially, if that's the type of storage that the client wants. It's masses. Anyway, we can refine this with the client specifically. And that robe is looking marvellous.
Have some nice windows out to the east.
Yeah, I might change that a little bit. Put a bit of... You can have fluted glass if privacy is an issue to the side with the neighbour. Then again here, and probably again into the stairwell. Also, you would probably have a lovely skylight over the stairwell. I think that's one case I really like skylights, is sort of in moments like these where you have a place where you're moving through and you can bring a lot of light down into the main part of the plan. But I think that looks like a beautiful master suite or primary suite, as we usually say. So that fits neatly on top of the lower level, as you can see here. And I think that's good. They may not want to do that straight away, but that's fine. And I might just walk back into the rooms down at the front on the lower level. I think for the moment we'll just show them as normal bedrooms. So we might just quickly place the robes.
Yep.
So this one will have a robe along here. I'd probably be inclined to put then the door in the side there.
Yeah, I think so.
And then they can have the bed. It just always helps to lay out the furniture in the rooms to test whether the plan is sort of working properly. And then the main bedroom, or this bedroom, I'd probably say that they do want to retain that fireplace. Then they might just have the robes on either side there, and the door might stay pretty much in the same position. But we can confirm with them whether they want to keep the fireplace or not. And then in this bedroom, I think maybe the door just needs to be nudged slightly to the left to fit the line of robes beside it. This sort of one, would you, Pete, lay it like this? You'd have the bed.
It's a bit tricky with the windows.
It's a little bit tricky with the windows.
But I think that's
probably the best we can do. And this room really is tricky because it's got a fireplace right where you would want to put the bed.
Maybe you could kill that fireplace.
Yeah, maybe I would argue that probably, if it is the plan to use it as a bedroom, I'd probably suggest removing that fireplace.
It's got a nice bay window.
Yeah, because it would be really nice to have the window. Maybe you have a little window seat. It'd be a very sweet room. In fact, you could also decide to put the robes there. Maybe that's better in this case, but it still relies on moving the fireplace. Yeah. So I might actually say in this case I'd be more inclined to put this in like that to give the bed a little bit of a broader back wall. Again, I've drawn a mega bed, but it's good to know you can. And that looks really generous now. Yeah, and I'd put the robe, along there. So yeah, I think that is looking quite interesting as a whole. It's possible that the client may not wish to do this much work, but we will talk about it. You could even do pretty much the same thing without the extension, without doing this part of the extension, just running it straight within the existing volume. But I think that it's definitely worth talking about with the client, and we may as well look at all options at this early stage, and I guess we'll let you know how we go and what they say. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Awesome. Yeah.